So just to introduce myself, my name is Chris, and I am the founder and president of blockchain at Phillips Academy. We are one of the first high school blockchain clubs to be onboarded to BAF, which is a nonprofit organization focused on accelerating the development and adoption of Web3. We focus on educating our members about blockchain development. We source sponsors and speakers for our university-affiliated blockchain clubs, and we support academic blockchain researchers and host educational talk shows like this. So for any new listeners, please consider joining our rich community to help propel yourself in your Web3 journey.
So why is blockchain development in Africa so important, and how has this technology been used so far?
Yeah, great question. The blockchain ecosystem in Africa, I think, is one of the, if not one of the leading in the world. I think the opportunity the blockchain technology has brought is the opportunity for a region not to be a fast follower or a late comer with the technology. When you look at the innovation coming out of different parts of the world, Africa, especially a number of countries in Africa, like Nigeria, has been leading a lot of innovation when it comes to the crypto use case of the blockchain. And it's been amazing being, at a position where we can look at the different blockchain innovation happening all across the continent. To mention a few of the use cases of blockchain on the continent, we've seen obviously the crypto exchange use case, which is really big in Nigeria. Nigeria leads crypto exchange on the continent. We have a lot of crypto exchanges coming out of the continent, especially from Nigeria. We've also seen a lot of use cases around agriculture in Ghana. We've seen use cases around energy in South Africa, and also financial inclusion in Rwanda, in Nigeria, in Kenya, in South Africa as well, and also for in terms of logistics, track and trace, we've seen some innovation from Egypt. So it's amazing to see that Africa is not a latecomer when it comes to the blockchain innovation. I think the blockchain technology has given us that level ground to play with global players as well. And we can see that a lot of attention is on Africa lately on blockchain and Web3 innovation. So it's been amazing, a lot of innovation coming out, a lot of enthusiasts coming up every day. This is pushing the government of different African countries also to begin to look at regulatory frameworks that works for the different ecosystems. So on an average, we can see a lot of use cases coming out of like 15 use cases from different parts of Africa. So, but it's booming, and the ecosystem here is doing fine. And I think we can compare it to what is happening in most part of Europe as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it seems like blockchain is booming in Africa, and I was just wondering, what do you think? What do you think what are like some of the characteristics do you think the continent has that makes this technology so suitable for rapid development?
Yeah, definitely decentralization. That's one of the the characteristics of the blockchain technology that is making it useful for development in Africa. Decentralization, and I think this is not just for Africa. I think globally, people want their freedom back. People want to be able to. People want transparency while they are holding value. So decentralization sounds like a good promise of freedom to people, and that is why this is happening in Africa, especially for grassroots innovation. When you look at Nigeria, for example, a lot of traditional banks in Nigeria are not really interoperable with banks from the West, which makes it very hard for a lot of Nigerians to transact huge volume of US dollars through their traditional bank cards. And the best way to go is to just go the crypto way, right? And that is decentralization. I don't need to wait for any bank for me to transact in crypto, and also to transact with maybe business partners or purchase things from any part of the world. So I think that's the biggest component that is making blockchain adoption and usage very relevant, and also for its adoption to be going up for innovation, and especially for grassroots innovation in Africa. When you also look at issues around credit worthiness, a lot of people, due to the inconsistencies of their nationality, maybe due to civic unrests or internal displacements, maybe due to political issues. They do not have access to traditional credit system, and we can see a lot of solutions in Africa using a lot of alternative credit data to be able to predict credit worthiness for people, and they're able to access credit from the bank, and also other traditional financial institutions, due to the fact that because of the blockchain technology. And we can see this in a company called Tijere that is using digital real estate financing in Africa. And the algorithms actually synthesize alternative data to qualify homeowners for incremental construction finance. And these are people that on a normal day would not be able to access traditional bank loans. So it's amazing. I think decentralization is that big promise, and that big promise is freedom. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I really want to touch on those initiatives that you mentioned that are, I guess, people are really adopting. But first of all, I guess you mentioned this term, grassroots, right? Um, in your own words, can you say what does grassroots developments mean to you? Just a brief definition of the term.
Yeah, grassroots means a geographical location, or it could also mean hypothetical location that lacks access to mainstream opportunities, um, cosmopolitan opportunities. And what we mean by opportunities in this sense could mean they do not have maybe road infrastructure that connects them to trade. We're talking about lack of access to electricity that gives them power. We're talking about maybe lack of access to internet that connects them to the other parts of the world. We're talking about trade opportunities. We're talking about maybe even safe drinking water. So we're talking about a cluster of the society that are not usually captured in mainstream conversations, and they are on the lower rung of the society. So grassroots means sometimes the lowest level of social class in the society. But one way or the other, when you look at the societal arrangement in Africa, almost everyone that lives in the city came from those places we call grassroots, or the places we call villages, or places we call towns. So, but on the hypothetical side, grassroots could mean granular level of interpretation of societal class. So grassroots could mean you know the solution. For example, if we're using an innovation solution, for example, can my grandfather use that solution? That could mean grassroots. Can refugees use that solution? That means grassroots. Can the lower social class or people with minimum wage use the solution? That is grassroots. So it could be geographical interpretation, it could be hypothetical, but either ways, it means the cluster of the society we usually don't talk about, or we usually don't give regard, even though they exist. That's grassroots.
Right, that's very well said. So, I guess can you highlight for us why grassroots is so important? And I guess is it more so with Web3, right? Why is this kind of development crucial as of now?
Yeah, I think the direction of global innovation, especially with the blockchain technology, should focus on the people. And what I mean by the people is also the grassroots. I think the people are the focus the people should be the focus of our innovation. The people should be the focus of our creativity. We usually don't look at the grassroots because we feel there's a cluster of the society that is bougie that would use our solution. But when you look at the model of even companies that were not originally technology companies, companies like Cerilac, companies like Cadbury. When you look at their model in Africa, you will discover that there's something in the grassroots we usually don't talk about. For example, when Cowbell, a company that produces canned milk in Nigeria, they usually produce for a cluster of the society that can afford a big thing of milk, powder milk. And the price of this powdered tin milk goes for sometimes averagely on an average $20, $45. But it came to a point where they noticed that the people in the grassroots or the people that earn minimum wage also want to drink milk. They also want powdered milk. And what did they do? They sachetize their milk for people to be able to buy at $5, $2. And when you check the book of Cowbell from that year onward, it has been profit after profit because the multiplication of the value of sachet of milk in the grassroots, tripled their income. That tells you that sometimes that's what we do with the with technology as well, especially a technology that is supposed to be a decentralized technology. We usually think of a cluster of the society that we think can pay, but sometimes we need to look beyond those who can readily pay and look at those that the solution will actually create a social impact on them, and then we definitely a payment model will definitely come out of that. But we must bring the technology back to focus on the people first of all, and then we'll begin to see that the impact of the technology that we are looking for by creating some of these redundant systems will begin to be forward-looking. So that's grassroots for me. That is people-centric innovation for me. And but we are supposed to look at the impact of the technology from the people first of all, then we trace it back to the technology. But what do we see today? We see the opposite. We see people first of all marketing the technology before we now look for the customers and the people that are going to use the technology. But that is not supposed to be the case. And when you look at a lot of successful big companies today that are technology companies, the reverse is the case for them. They start with the people, they start with the users of the solution, and then once they're able to curate the pain points of the people, the need of the people, and the transformational potentials of that technology for the people, then they're able to trace everything back to technology. You are able to build an impactful technology when you understand the people that will use it first. That's what I mean by grassroots and people-centric innovation with the blockchain technology.
Right, right. I mean, like being able to study and work with the community and actually solving the problem on a local scale first and from the bottom up, really builds the foundation for impactful and valuable technological progress. So, I guess in your perspective, how does one build for the issue, right? Can you kind of outline the process in which, a grassroots projects would actually go about building a applicable product with the community, right? So, how do you study the problem, work with the community, and how do you even identify the problem, right?
Awesome, good question. A lot of startups are making this mistake these days, and that is the mistake of sitting in the city, for example, or sitting behind closed doors, thinking the problem of the people for them, developing a solution they feel people would need, and launching a product that they feel people would buy. That's one of the biggest problems of entrepreneurship these days, and a lot of startups are making that mistake. The grassroots, the blockchain solutions that I've seen that are actually making a lot of impact in the grassroots. And does grassroots mean that they are not making money? No. Those that I've seen started with the people, and that market research is becoming a thing of the past in the entrepreneurial ecosystem now, because we assume that we assume what people need, and we assume what the model should be. But I've seen most of the big projects that I've seen that are making impact in the grassroots in Africa started with a long co-creation kind of research with the people that needs the solution. You want to build a solution for farmers, and you are seated, in the city, designing solution behind closed doors, with a cup of coffee, when you're actually supposed to be with the farmers that needs the solution. Uh, you might have been thinking about even figure out your model for a long time, and a 2 minute conversation with a farmer can actually change the game for you forever. So market research is something that we need to go back to. Co-creation is something we need to go back to, and application of human-centered design that takes us through the value chain of discovery, planning, divergence, convergence, filtering all the solutions and going for the best one. It's still the best way to go in building grassroots innovation. You want to build something around energy, and you want the solution to reach the lowest rung of the society, and you're building that on your computer. It doesn't work. You want to build something you want to build remittances for people, and you are not actually speaking to people that are going to be using the solution. It doesn't work that way, and that's why we have a lot of repetitive startup platforms in Africa solving the same problem, and also fighting for the same customers when there are unique customers that have not been touched at all, right? So the best way to go for building grassroots solution is going to the grassroots itself, not assuming what the grassroots need, not designing what we think the grassroots need. We need to go back to human-centered design. We need to go back to market research. We need to go back to co-creation of solution. That gives us the kind of information that gives us confidence in building a solution, and it also helps us to know the touch point where the data, and also to know the touch point of data that we need to build our solution. It also helps us to know our demography right away. We don't need to be doing market troubleshooting from time to time if we got it right from the beginning. And we can see a lot of use cases in Africa. We can see a lot of examples in Africa where some solutions actually spent 1 year doing the research, curating data and insight from people that really needs the solution. And by the time they launched, it was like a gold mine. They're able to know what they are doing. They know the customers. They know the data they are gathering. And they know the kind of data they also need to optimize their products going forward.
Right. I mean, being able to be at that local level to, I guess, feel the problem and issue that you're trying to solve, and to tackling that way. I mean, that's so powerful and inspiring for an entrepreneur, and also, I mean, that's, I guess, the way that product building should be, right? Um, I guess, you've mentioned a lot of examples in which this or grassroots development is already happening in Africa. So can you, I guess, give us some of those examples and tell some of the stories in which, current projects and initiatives underway that you think exemplifies the, I guess, ideal grassroots development model?
Yeah, good question. I'll give you maybe 4 examples around different industries. A very good example that I will first of all talk about is one of the startups that participated in our just concluded incubation program by the name of Tijere. Tijere, is a company that is helping unbanked people to have real estate financing. You will agree with me that shelter is one of those things that every one of us as individuals, as humans, need. With shelter, you're able to plan your life. With good shelter, you're able to have stability. With shelter, you're able to, there's just that fulfillment of living, right? But we have a cluster of people in the society that, because of their, like I said from the beginning, their situation, we class them as unbanked, and they are automatically not connected to mainstream financial system. So Tijere is a platform that is digitizing real estate financing in Africa. Their algorithm, like I said, it synthesizes alternative data to qualify homeowners for incremental construction. Many people want to increase their property so that they can make more money. So it helps them to increase their incremental construction finance, as well as rent to own products. So they also serve the unbanked and the underbanked in Africa by they combine machine learning algorithms with digital credit risk assessment for affordable quality housing and that are also very environmentally sustainable. So what they basically do is to help either the unbanked or the underbanked to either access more funding to increase their property ownership, or for those who don't have at all to be able to have credit to buy a house or to build, right? And they use a lot of alternative, data to do this on the blockchain. So they passed through our incubation program, and we are really impressed with the impact that solution is having on local people. Not just it's not this gives people a leveling playground for property ownership, not just people who have millions of dollars that should be controlling the property ecosystem. Everyday people should be able to have a house. Everyday people should be able to invest in real estate. So that's one of the projects that we are really excited for, that is solving, real estate issues and shelter issues for people. The second one I'll talk about is Beachland. Beachland is a Ghanaian blockchain company. And it's helping people with land ownership, records, land ownership, and land ownership conflict is one of the biggest issues we have in Africa as well. And it's in almost every country, in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Zimbabwe. It's even worse in Zimbabwe because of the history they've gone through politically. So Bitland has helped a lot of people to permanently record and also register their land details, and can be verified by everybody and by the government. And they've helped a lot of people in Ghana to settle cases that have been in court for 15 years, 16 years. Beachland has helped a lot of people to be able to have rights, correct and proper claim of their family lands and their individual land properties. So Bitland is a good example of solution, blockchain solution, helping grassroots people as well. In terms of energy, there's a South African company called Sun Exchange, and I like the model of Sun Exchange a lot. So Sun Exchange is basically an energy company, and they invest in solar energy. But what they do is that they allow people to invest in with Bitcoin to buy solar panels that are now rented out to schools, to government, to communities, and at a subscription, and then they get reward and profit for their investment. But investment is in Bitcoin. So you can see how we can use what we call crypto to even encourage people for investment and thereby providing clean energy for the people. So the impact is tied with the economic sense of the solution, and it's transforming the lives of the people. People are able to make economic investment, and they're also able to provide clean energy for the people. And their model is so unique that a lot of people who just want to invest with crypto goes on their platform to invest in crypto, and it's towards energy, clean energy, basically. Um, there's a company that I'm not sure if they are still existing, but when they launched in 2017, they had a very great model. That is Wala. Wala is a Cape Town-based, company, and they help people, local economies with remittances. Um, it was founded in 2017, and their goal was to offer financial services to the millions of unbanked Africans who are unable to access traditional financial institutions. So, all these companies that I've talked about, they are addressing some particular issues. And if we remember all the solutions I've talked about, they are around energy, land title conflict, um, um, financial interoperability, financial inclusion, These are peculiar, issues facing a lot of people in Africa, and this is what these companies have been doing to solve these problems. But when you say a fintech, for example, helping people create wallets, and then they are even charging more transaction fees than traditional banks, and we call them a fintech that is supposed to be solving some of these issues we talked about. I don't see those startups as grassroots solutions. They are startups, they are making money, they are economically viable, they are one way or the other creating their own values in their own ways. But the truth is that when we pay attention to the some of the most wicked problems facing our society, especially in Africa, I expect our solutions to at least pay attention to those data and build our model around solving problems for those people. So these are some of the solutions that we're seeing from different part of Africa, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe. Tijeri is a Zimbabwean company. Beachland is a Ghanaian startup, blockchain startup. Sun Exchange is a South African based startup. And Wala is also a South African based startup.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, it really seems like building on the grassroots level is really critical if we want to move forward. And I guess if um, you want, I guess, this technology, if you want Web3 to, I guess, impact and bring value to the greater society as a whole, and not just a certain small subset of people, right? So I guess, how do we build the norm of solving problems on this local grassroots level, right? So I guess be more specific. Since we are educators and students, what are some ways that we can learn or help learn to build on a grassroots level? Like, what are some of the skills required? What are some of the things you need to pay attention to? Um, yeah, or what are some of the things or skill sets that we need in order to address the community?
Solving, money would come, sustainability would come, but also impact would have been established with the solution. So number one is people passionate about problem solving. Number two, we must have growth mindset. Growth mindset. If you are closed minded, you may not be able to see the potentials of what you are building for the grassroots. We need to have growth mindset. We must understand that um, our realities are usually different from the realities of other people. And we cannot use one reality to build a global brand. No, it doesn't happen that way. Why is it that big tech companies are also looking at entering new markets, and they design their offering for that market based on the reality of that market? And that's the same thing with the Web3 space and blockchain. We must have growth mindset so that we begin to see the realities of other people and we're able to build for them. Number three is that we must be curious. We must be able to ask good questions, and I guess that's one of the things that clicked between me and you when we met in Austin. Um, your curiosity to learn about opportunities that you can use to build your problem solving or build your product for solution is very important. So those three things are really important. Problems, and also people want to build social impact, and also people want to build social innovation.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very powerful message, and I think we've gone over a very important topic today. And I guess to kind of wrap it up a little bit, what would be your final message to innovators or students that are currently trying to get into Web3, if you were to distill it into a couple of sentences?
I would say that the sky is so big that it can contain all the species of birds that want to fly. um, we may fall into the temptation to think that the blockchain and Web3 space is flooded and saturated already. But I'll tell you no. We are going through a cycle of hype, and I believe that at some point the hypes will go down and we will see clearly the real projects that are impactful for the people. So I would advise that we overlook the hype that is going on. A lot of hypes, a lot of pumping, a lot of sweet storytelling, and that are not really genuine. So I would advise that we overlook that and just innovate correctly, take great positions in the ecosystem, and very soon the hypes will go down, the truth will show, and we'll see real problem solvers that are really passionate about solving problems for the people and bringing social and economic well-being to the people. So the sky is so big enough for all kinds of birds to fly. Don't think because the ecosystem is saturated that you cannot still innovate around it. Maybe some of you have looked around and said, "Oh, what can we do again with crypto exchange? There are many crypto exchanges. What can we do again with NFT marketplace? There are so many people doing it. What can we do again with tokenization? There are so many people doing it." But the truth is that the technology is just, roughly 13 years old, and there's still a lot of grants to be covered, a lot of innovation that can still come out of the Web3 ecosystem. So I would advise that we look beyond the saturation and the noise and begin to innovate correctly. And very soon, a filtering will happen, and we are going to see clearly those who are really passionate about solving problems for the people.
Well, yeah, that's a very, very important message. And I mean, hopefully your presence here today and your, the knowledge and message that you've given us can help demystify that. But I'd like to give the last few minutes to open up the floor for any Q&A and questions of anybody in the space right now. So just raise your hand and I'll give you the speaker position. But I guess just to, fill in the silence while people are thinking about their questions. Is there, oh, sorry, give me a sec.
Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
Amazing. I think it was an incredible space. I deeply agree with a lot of things that you just say about thinking about crypto from the user perspective. I'm actually a product manager, and one of the things that happens a lot in the products that I see on crypto that they are built like really from a technical perspective, and many times they lose like that customer centric or user centric experience that they should be looking forward to. And I would love to know your opinion on what you think are like the best practices to reach these like value driven products on Web3.
Um, if I get the question correctly, you're asking for what are the best approaches to reach some of these grassroots Web3 solutions, or how to build them.
Exactly.
Yeah. For building, I think most people that want to build solutions, they are first of all excited about the technology, right? And all of us go through that phase of technological excitement. You wake up in the morning and you say, "Damn, this code that I've written will change the world. This code that I've written is the next big thing." And then you pilot, and you notice that you have built off the wood, and there's no human experience in what you have built, right? So I would reiterate that for building these grassroots solutions, if we are technical funders, so it's not impossible that some of us that want to build a solution, we are just technical people. We should find people who can introduce us to how to understand thick data. And this is an idea, a proposition of Tricia Wang, the prominent technology ethnographer, where she proposed that rather than use big data and quantitative and statistical solutions, to use statistical data to make our decision for problem solving and solution and product building, we should use thick data. Thick data is the data that we get from people that are not usually given attention to. And she made this proposition based on her work with Nokia. She was one of the last people who did grassroots research for Nokia before Nokia went into extinction. They did not listen to our the silent research she did in China with people around the fact that people are beginning to love iPhone. People are beginning to love smartphones. And Nokia is still late in research and development for that uh, part of the innovation. And she advised the organization and said, this is the data that the research I did is showing. But Nokia rejected our research, which provided a lot of people-centric and thick data that can help Nokia to innovate correctly. And a few years after, and see what happened to Nokia. So we must pay attention to thick data rather than a lot of quantitative big data that just shows up upward trends in graphs and everything. We must begin to pay attention to thick data. And I think that's my advice on that.
Yeah, I mean it was very important. I think being able to granulize and go into, I guess, more of that personal perspective is so important. Is there anybody else that's interested or wants to ask the question? Um, if not, I think we've gone over a lot of very impactful topics today, and you know, I think the message that we've left here today is great. So if I guess nobody else has anything to say, I think this is a great point to end the discussion and to thank Oluwaseun again for you know, speaking with us here today and sharing your knowledge.
It's my pleasure, Chris, and thanks for everyone who showed up. I believe that this kind of conversation should continue so that we begin to build sustainable solution with the blockchain technology and the general Web3 ecosystem. Thank you. Have a great one.
Thank you, everyone.